Okay, welcome then to this session on mastering APA PsycInfo in the new EBSCOhost interface. So we're going to take a look at the APA PsycInfo database on the new interface. A number of you may have already migrated to the new interface. Others are maybe still waiting until the appropriate time for that, but we will be looking at the new interface on EBSCOhost today in this session. So I'm Richard Crooks. I work for the EBSCO Customer Training Services team based here in the UK. So I live in the East Midlands and have previously worked in the NHS in England as a librarian or in various library-related roles for about 12 years before joining EBSCO. So now I've been with EBSCO in approximately 14 years, and I typically support customers based in the UK, Ireland, and also the Nordics on occasion as well. And I believe we have some joining us today from that territory. So welcome to this session. So in terms of the actual session, we will be looking at navigating the new interface. So we'll look at the live demonstration. So we'll do that primarily through the live demonstration, and also look at the basic advanced search options that are available, and in particular the use of APA Thesaurus, the index, and also the application of filters and limiters as appropriate, and also the tools where you can save, cite, and store and retrieve records as well. And if there's any time at the end, we'll take some more questions, but obviously feel free to use the Teams chat to post them as we go through the webinar. You may have comments or questions about the platform itself. They may be APA PsycInfo related, but whatever, please post them on the Teams chat. I will respond to you as soon as I can. If I cannot give you the answer or respond to you during the course of the webinar, I will endeavour to follow up post-session as well. And as I mentioned, I will collate those questions and provide the responses in the email that I send to you post-session as well. So in terms of the session objectives, my hope is that you'll be able to use the natural language search mode to find relevant records in answer to research questions. So I have a brief demonstration of that after initial introduction. You'll be able to create and run a PEO framework search on APA PsycInfo. You may be familiar with PEO. This is an alternative framework, and I'll mention more about that shortly. You will also be able to use the APA Thesaurus to identify relevant subject terms. So use the index there, and also be able to apply filters to refine search results effectively. And also you'll be able to utilize EBSCO's tools to manage and organize your research as well. So whether you want to save items, create alerts, whatever it might be, then we can cover some of that in this session. Okay, so for the benefit of those who are not so familiar with APA PsycInfo, we may have some students on board, for example, in today's session. Just want to give a brief review of this specific database, okay, to give it the context that we need for this webinar. So it is, of course, the world's largest resource that is devoted to peer-reviewed literature in behavioral science and mental health, obviously produced by the American Psychological Association. So it's an indispensable tool for global scholarly research. Now, it is updated twice weekly, so it's a very current database and has millions of course cited references, also well over 5 million records spanning 600 years of content, if you need to go that far back into the literature. So indexes and abstracts, almost 2,500 peer-reviewed journals, again related to behavioral science and mental health. And you also have content not only from journal articles, but also book chapters and dissertations. And also the features include coverage going back to the 17th, 18th century, and also authored and edited books and book chapters are also included as part of the content. And as I mentioned, dissertations, which are selected from Dissertations Abstracts International. So there are publications from more than 50 countries, and there are journals published in 30 languages. So again, these are all indexed and accessible through this database on the EBSCOhost platform. Now, the first thing I want to mention, and we will go to the live site in a moment, but is the natural language search mode, the AI-powered natural language search, which has been rolled out for the new EBSCOhost interface, and essentially allows researchers to search using everyday terminology in question or statement form. So it's powered by or prompted by a large language model, which in this case is Claude Haiku, and it allows users intuitively to submit a question and receive the relevant literature from the database using this mode. Now, it is available both on the basic search page, and you see the example here on the screenshots from the basic search, but it can also be selected on the advanced search page, as we'll see as well. So essentially, it streamlines information retrieval. It makes it more efficient, faster to find evidence, as it were, in relation to a key topic. Provides, access to the literature from APA PsycInfo in this context. And of course, it reflects the common familiar experience with tools like Siri, Google, and Alexa. So we'll have a look at that. That is, by the way, something which can be defaulted to off, so it may be visible, but off by default. It may be off completely if you feel that you don't need to use this tool, this feature, but you can toggle that on as highlighted there on the screenshot. So we're just going to take a quick look at that before we move on to the more in-depth searching that I'm sure you're waiting for. So I will now go to my desktop and we'll just briefly demonstrate this tool, this feature. So you should now see my advanced search page. So I would say for most healthcare organizations, for universities which support healthcare students, etc., psychology students, this is probably the default entry point for APA PsycInfo and other APA databases. Certainly for like CINAHL Medline, it's a very common interface for most organizations, whether you're healthcare directly or in academia. So we're going to start off with this perspective. So on this page, just to go through briefly some of the key elements before we go into natural language searching, you'll see we've got the 3 search boxes. We'll make use of those during the course of our search shortly. And the initial 3 boxes are there, and you have the Boolean operators and or not. So if those are familiar with Medline and CINAHL, if you've been on any of my sessions recently, you would see it looks very familiar. We also have the field codes there, of course, and one of the key features in the new interface is the application of title and abstract searching. So you can see this field code here now. And just to clarify, title and abstract means you would search for keywords within the title or abstract, not necessarily both fields. So they would be searched simultaneously, but it doesn't mean that your search term or terms have to appear in both fields. They could be in either or, but that's a new feature. We didn't have that for quite a long time in EBSCO, but that's now available. We have obviously the option to add other rows here. So we'll go to natural language search in a moment. So you can combine terms in this fashion using these rows, and up to 12 rows can be added. Okay, and you can restrict it back to the original 3. We have basic search course available as well. So this is where you saw the screenshot. And on here, you have natural language search visible from the outset, and you can switch that on here. So if you want to use natural language search from this perspective, then you can add or enter the question here. So for example, if you wanted to check the question about exercise therapy versus antidepressant medication for treating depression, then you could enter it in the form of this. So is exercise more effective than antidepressant medication in treating depression? Okay, so you could just enter it in this form. It's very intuitive, and then you run the search from here. Okay, so once you do that, it will bring up a list of relevant results based on that particular search mode. So you see here, immediately you've got the key terms highlighted. And one of the big questions, of course, is, although you'll say it's AI powered, how is the search query formed? How is it constructed? Well, we're quite explicit about this. If you go above the result list, you'll see there's a reference here, show refined query. And I'm just going to little zoom in a bit here. And if you click on that, it will give you the Boolean logic for this particular search. So you can see the Boolean operators or and there where appropriate. And you've got exercise or physical activity and depression or depressive disorder combined with treatment or therapy or effectiveness. So it's constructed this query based on my question, based on the search terms. So for this to be effective, you do need to enter the query in terms of a question or a statement. Okay, if you try and use it in another way, and it will not work. Also, if you use the other search modes and you enter a question, it may not bring back any results at all, or far more or far less than you think you'd expect. So you can see the results below here. So again, you see this exercise as a form of intervention for reducing level of depression, etc. You see key terms highlighted, and also the terms in the abstract and the subject fields also in bold as well. Okay, and of course at this point, if you wish to refine the search, you can do so. So there are ways to refine it. You've got these initial quick links above the result list. So if you want to restrict it to full text, you'll see linked full text. Now, linked full text here is kind of all embracing. With APA PsycInfo being an abstract and in its only database, essentially there's no full text here. But with EBSCOhost Smart Linking, it means that if you subscribe to other EBSCO databases like Medline Ultima or CINAHL Complete, then if the same articles are indexed in APA PsycInfo and they have full text PDF online full text, those links will be transferred to the database. Also, you may have journal subscriptions set up where you've got online access. So you may be using a link resolver. It could be EBSCO's full text finder link resolver. It could be link libkey from Third Iron, etc. Okay, and there's of course open access content as well. So again, it will pick up results, full text records, and I'm just checking this one here to see what is going on, because at the moment it's not showing any. Okay, yeah, it does there, right? So you can now see access now PDF. So you can get to the PDF article, you can download it from here as well. So again, link full text, because it's an ANI database, it's all embracing. If you're using another version, or for example, again, Medline Ultimate, Synod Complete, or Synod Ultimate, then you would have a dedicated full text available with active full text non-embargo content. But again, we use smart linking to transfer full text links from one database to another if you subscribe to it. Okay. Likewise, you can see here the peer-reviewed annotation for records. You can select peer-reviewed, but the majority of references within APA PsycInfo are peer-reviewed journals, etc. All time, you can limit it by 5 years, for example. There's also a custom option as well. And then you have source types. So, for example, these are all aggregate journals. So essentially then you can just run a natural language search, and then you can, based on your search question, and then you can refine and filter accordingly, and then obviously browse the records, and we'll do more of that in the next search. Now, also, if I click new search here, I'll go back to the advanced search page, which is the default landing page. I'll just clear my screen here. Oh, actually, I'll just leave it here for now. But what happens when you use natural language search, even if you're on the basic search screen, if you go to search options, in fact, it doesn't do it here within APA PsycInfo, but if you wanted to use, for example, natural language search on this page, on the advanced search screen, you've got the search mode here. Now, by default, the default search mode for APA PsycInfo is proximity. So proximity means it would insert the precision operator near and within a specified word range. So if you entered, for example, bipolar disorder, it would search for bipolar near 5 words or less of disorder, or disorder within 5 words or less of bipolar. Okay, so if you want more information or detailed information about what these search modes are doing in the background, so find all my search terms, find any, and smart text searching, then if you click the EBSCO Connect context sensitive help menu online here, it will take you to our support site, and it will give you a breakdown of each of these search modes, including natural language here. Okay, and you'll see there's also information about configuration of the search settings as well. So if you have admin rights to EBSCO admin, or more recently EBSCO Experience Manager, they're the two tools that manage the new interface, then you would have the option to make changes to this. So for example, in England, within the NHS, within the National Health Service, proximity has been relabeled phrase, and it's been changed in terms of the switch from the near operator to the within operator. So where it says N5 for the default proximity search, that's been changed to within 0. So it treats search terms within proximity as an exact phrase search. So again, there's more information on this site to explain all that in detail. Again, if you've got any questions or comments about any of these features, then please do let me know. Okay, so also just to highlight here as well, expanders. These are particularly relevant to keyword searching, free text searching, so basic searching. You can expand the search to retrieve records with thesaurus terms, so the APA Thesaurus terms that relate to the keyword search by using apply related words. If you want to search within the full text document that's available, then you've got also search within the full text. And if you want further mapping to subject terms, then you can use apply equivalent subject. So what that does is take your term, map it to a concept, and then in turn that will retrieve records from the index content related to APA Thesaurus terms related to that concept. So again, we have a dedicated link there to explain that in more detail. So again, information on search modes and expanders are within EBSCO Connect, so you can link to it directly from there. So particularly obviously as yourselves as librarians or researchers, if you are also training others as well, end users, then this is a useful reference point to familiarize yourself with what these features are actually doing. And there are some customization options, as I mentioned, so you can default the expanders to be off, or as is the case with England with their discovery service, all three of these are selected by default. So again, there's options there to have them disabled or hidden, etc. We won't get into that in more detail today. Something you may want to follow up post session if you're using this service already, this database. Okay, so that is just a brief look at natural language searching. And obviously, most of you are probably doing some more in-depth searching on this. And so we will use the advanced search page for the next step. So I'm going to go briefly back to, so I'll be switching back and forth here. And I'll just see if there's any questions or comments here. So from Kerry here, is there a specific definition of peer-reviewed used to pick up those results and or appraisal results to check the quality of the peer review process for journals? Peer-reviewed usually indicates there's some kind of editorial control panel involved. And is there a way to search and add mesh terms in this thesaurus? On screen, if I just go here now, you'll see here, you've got mesh subject heading here as well. Okay, so you can see here on the but again, there's information within EBSCO Connect on that. But in terms of the question related to Kerry, there is the reference to, there's several references to subject headings here. Subject SU will search the word index, we use word indexing to search the subject thesaurus, so the APA terms, as well as author supply keywords, etc. DE is the definitive exact subheading provided by the APA. So that relates to the APA Thesaurus. So you'll see DE prefix in the field or the term, and then mesh, MA, relate to the mesh terms. Okay, so that's from the National Library of Medicine, which you're familiar with regard to Medline and so on. So you can, of course, you could in theory search for both fields. You can enter mesh terms here and use OR. Okay, so you could use it in this fashion. So you have got those listed there as well. Okay, and another question here before we go any further from, let's see, Sophie here. Is there any way to see which specific equivalent subjects are being added to my search? Unfortunately not. That has come up before. We have not yet provided anything on that specifically in terms of the new interface, but we can certainly flag that, highlight that, and forward that comment to our product management team. So apply equivalent subjects. I mean, the nearest you'll get to it is once you do use it and you check the subjects filter. When you're filtering, you'll see what subjects are covered or brought back from the search, but there's no explicit query. As you see with natural language search, there's a query there. You can see the refined query, but apply equivalent subject doesn't have that functionality at the moment. Okay. Yeah, and that's a good point there. So in PubMed, you can see auto mapping of mesh terms. So I'm happy to forward that to our team. We have a product manager actually who's very, looking to improve the functionality of the interface. There are things coming out in the next few weeks that would support, for example, systematic review, searching, and so on. So there's more to come for the interface, but this is good feedback so we can feed that back to our product managers. So, okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to just stop share again and go back to my PowerPoint. So keep the questions coming as they arise, and I'll just go back to the PowerPoint here. But what I wanted to focus now is on a particular search and take you through the steps here. And this is this research question using the PEO framework as opposed to PICO. So does social media use lead to eating disorders in young people? So we're going to look at this topic and go through it within the interface in a moment. Obviously, the key thing here is to devise the strategy. We have the research question and we can break it down into the key components. So for this particular session, I'm using PEO. So we look at the population or patient or problem, we look at the exposure, and we look at the outcome. So obviously we look at young people specifically, we're looking at their exposure to social media and the impact of social media in terms of eating disorders. So the second row there that you see with young and teen and teenagers, these are the synonyms that we could be used for our free text search. It could be an unqualified search, or we might want to focus on targeted analytic searching, which we'll do in this session. Likewise, the exposure, obviously it's social media, but we could look at multimedia, social networking. We could look at specific software or apps like Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, etc. And then we've got the outcomes, so eating disorders, a general term. We could look at anorexia, bulimia, binge eating, etc. And below that, in the third row, you'll see the terms in uppercase, italicized. These are the APA terms that we would like to find or understand. Now, I know some library services, some librarians, when they're searching, they'll perform the subject search first, and that will give them an indication of what keyword terms they could use. Others, probably like myself, will start off with a free text term, and then we'll browse the thesaurus and combine them. Okay, so we're going to do a combination of free text searching combined with the APA Thesaurus terms. Okay, and again, we might not know necessarily what they are. This is a nice layout, but it's not something you have immediately. It's something you work towards, as it were. Also, to say a little bit about the APA Thesaurus, we have the 2025 winter update. Obviously, this will be updated periodically, I believe annually, and there is a link there to more information on this page. So there are obviously new terms that are added periodically. We've got attachment security, child custody evaluation, for example, family communication, non-custodial parent. So obviously the APA kept their index up to date, as it were, with new terms, obviously replacing older terms that are no longer appropriate. And so there's more information on their website for more detailed look at the thesaurus and how they construct that, as it were. So again, the new terms are often highlighted in these updates that you'll see on their website, so apa.org. So in terms of using the thesaurus, we'll see this live in a moment. So essentially, you would have noted in the advanced search page, you may have caught a glimpse of this. We have these tabs below the search boxes, filters, search options, and subjects. So subjects relate specifically to the APA Thesaurus. You can enter your term, and then you can browse the thesaurus to pick up the appropriate term, as you see, eating disorders, and you can add that to your search. There is also another option within the dashboard. We'll see that in a moment live. Under Research Tools, there's an option to navigate to the subject's authority from the column on the left. So there are two ways to access the APA Thesaurus. If you're still using the classic interface, as I know they are in England in the NHS, then you will still access the APA Thesaurus from the top toolbar. Now this subject's authority, this index is accessible through the search page directly and also on the left-hand column. So we'll see that live shortly. So again, you can select the tab, you can enter your term or terms to browse the thesaurus, and once you've identified that, you can select the term and add it to your search and run a search on the indexed term. And that can be combined, of course, with title abstract or an unqualified search, or as a standalone search if appropriate as well. Just to add, before we go on to the live demonstration of this, also to mention there are available filters for APA PsycInfo. You'll see subject major heading that relates to the APA Thesaurus term, where that is the primary focus of index content when you filter in that way. We've got the classification, which is also the internal APA PsycInfo categories codes to describe the content. As an additional filter that you would not necessarily have in Medline or in CINAHL. Methodology, likewise, if you're looking for particular studies, if you're looking for systematic reviews, meta-analyses, or qualitative studies, you can filter accordingly. And you have tests and measures as well. So these can be published and unpublished tests. And also you have the population option, as well as age as well, for looking at specific population groups. So there is a FAQ there. What is the methodology limiter in the APA PsycInfo database? So it gives you a bit more detail on the various elements that are available through that filter. So again, we'll look at that. So we're going to go now back to my desktop. So I will share my screen. So bear with me. And in a moment, you should see the landing page again. So the advanced search page for this. So we're going to run the search now. So again, if you remember, we're going to look at the population group, which is young people. So to begin with, we're going to look at the free text options. And for this, I will restrict to title and abstract. So from the drop down, you can choose the option XB there, and then we can enter our terms. Now, so I'm going to put young people or youth, for example, or teen. I can also truncate it, by the way. So teen would be teenager, teenagers, teenager, etc. Teenage. I can add adolescents, likewise. Okay, I can truncate here using the asterisk as well. I can also use quotation marks for phrases as well, by the way. So double quotes there for young people, etc. Okay, so I could start off with this. I also want to map to the preferred APA term as well. So for this, I'm going to switch the Boolean operator to OR, and I'll go to subjects here. Okay, so now I have the option to search the thesaurus for the appropriate term from the APA Thesaurus. So I'm going to enter adolescent here. Okay, and I can go for term begins with here, or relevancy ranked. So if I go to term begins with, you'll see all the related terms from the APA Thesaurus related to adolescence. So I've got adolescent attitudes here, I've got adolescent behavior, characteristics, development, etc. You'll see also it's suggested to use adolescent mental health. So I can use this as well. Adolescent mothers, pregnancy, etc. So I can select these terms, etc. And you will also see here within this menu, you've got adolescent development has the explode option. And you can also click the drop down to see the actual scope note. If you want more information on the term itself, then click on adolescent development here, and it gives you the scope note. So this term, adolescent development, was introduced in 1973. You see the main term. There are broader terms you could be using, but you need to select those. But by default, when you click explode, it automatically includes these narrower terms, as you see here. Okay, so they're all included when we explode, and there are other related terms that may want to use. And as we saw, youth mental health is used for adolescent mental health. So we can select this one. We may want to include youth services as well. Okay, so we can select all those terms. Okay, and then if we click add to search here, you'll see now it populates the box below with the index terms. So we can see DE. So these are the APA Thesaurus terms. Okay. So we can explore that. We can combine it with this search here, and we can click search. So this will be the first element of the PEO search, the population that we're looking at. Obviously, we've got a lot of results here, but we will be refining that, of course, when we combine with other elements. So if we want to go to the next step, click new search, and now we'll look for the social media aspect. So again, social media, you could enter that in double quotes if you wanted to. You can add online media as well. Again, there's different ways you can construct this query. I'm just doing it for the sake of time here. Or it could be, let's see, social networking as well. So again, there are ways to construct this. And I could truncate that as well for social networks and social networking, etc. Or I can add obviously specific, apps as well, like Instagram or Snapchat or TikTok, and then maybe others that you're familiar with, or Facebook, maybe less popular these days. I can add WhatsApp as well. So I can add all these as options, search terms, free text terms, and I can choose again targeted searching. Again, depending on the nature of the approach that you normally take. I know some institutions prefer to just do an unqualified field search and then combine it with the subject term. And then again, I follow the same process with subjects here, and I can add social media. Again, I can do it for term begins with, and then I can pick up these as well. Okay. Notice again, this one's set to explode as well. Unfortunate term really, but expand in other words. And then I can click on social media and you'll see again what's included, but it does give you the option here to include other, for example, digital media. You might want to include that as well. Plus, we've got cyberbullying as well. That could be useful. Cybersex maybe as well could be included. Digital marketing, digital source, online addiction measures. All of these things could come into play here. Online community, maybe social network analysis. So again, from this menu, once you open up the APA Thesaurus term, you can see what's already selected when you select the explode option, but it does allow you to include broader terms, related terms as well. And then from there, you can then add to the search. And again, you'll see the search box populated with the various index terms there to be combined with the original title object search. So I think we may have a question coming up. So the next thing, of course, the third element is the outcome. So we're looking at the impact of social media in terms of eating disorders, etc. So again, we can go through this, click new search, enter my term here. So we look at eating disorders. By the way, there's an autocomplete feature. I'm not sure why it's not on today, but basically when you start typing, it should generate a list of terms that you can use. These are based on user behavior. These are based on user logs from around the world. So typically what would users use for eating disorders or bulimia or anorexia? Now it's not showing on my demo today, probably because it's been disabled, but normally you would see that. Again, you can type in conditions like bulimia, or you can truncate this, that's bulimic and bulimia, or anorexic and that'll be anorexia or anorexic, etc., or binge eating. Again, you can use quotation marks. So I'm kind of mixing and matching here a bit, just to illustrate really. And again, choose the drop down here and then combine with the Boolean or for the preferred subject term, the APA Thesaurus term. So again, if I put in eating disorders here and begins with, you'll see again, I'm directed to the actual term, the APA Thesaurus term. Again, the explode option is available. So if I click on that heading, you can see here the broader terms. What's currently selected again are the narrow terms. So all these, so anorexia nervosa, binge eating, bulimia, feeding disorders are going to be all included. So it will retrieve records indexed with these narrow terms when I have the explode option selected. Okay. And then there are other terms that you can use. For example, is binge eating here, eating behavior possibly, although maybe not so much that one because of the healthy eating. Nausea, possibly. So again, you can choose again this one here, and then you can combine them using the add to search option and the Boolean or there. So they're now grouped together again to be combined with the original title and object search. Good question for Michelle there. I'm going to pause here. She's correct. So it's not a super basic question. It's a good question. Yes, when you type in keywords, it gives autocomplete suggestions, which you indicate is useful, but it doesn't put or in capital letters. Does this affect the search? Good question, because I know in EBSCO admin there is an option to specify that Boolean operators like or and not should be in uppercase. I'm assuming based on the user behavior on the terms that are retrieved, it would not impact the search. We can look that up, but as you can see, when I select, my preference is to enter the Boolean operators in uppercase. They are shown in uppercase on the drop-down menu, and when you select or combine the thesaurus terms, you can see or as an uppercase as well. So it's a good question. That is the case. So unfortunately, I can't show that right now, but when you do have the autocomplete feature, it does retrieve records with or in lowercase. Yeah, so so Lisa says not a max experience. It should work both ways. I think generally speaking, it does work in both ways, but we can verify that. I mean, I'm not sure why it does that, why it doesn't generate the search with uppercase or not or and, etc., as you might expect. But yeah, I can understand that. It is confusing. We can make a note of that and report that back to product management as well. It may be that they're treated as uppercase characters, but as an autocomplete feature, they're displayed in lowercase as part of the terms entered. Yes, and that's correct. Yes, Lisa's correct here. Autocomplete is made up from what other users have typed in. So although to be honest, I don't think I've seen uppercase or in any of the autocomplete searches that appear on screen. For those who may not be, because I can't demonstrate that right now, for those not familiar with that, we can look at the EBSCO Connect site, time permitting, to show that feature as well and what that's doing in the background. So again, this is the last of the three elements of PEO. So we're going to click search here, and you may be wondering now, where are these searches going? They're not on the advanced search page. That is going to change. You will see eventually that search strategy will appear above the result list. So that is coming very soon. When I say very soon, within the next month or so, okay, within possibly this month, you should see that functionality available where the search history is displayed above the result list, okay? But for now, if you go to recent activity, you'll see what searches I've performed here. Now, I've got others here that I've performed recently, so I will tidy this up. But basically, the search history currently is within recent activity, which is from the My Dashboard area here, okay? And while I'm on that dashboard, you'll see subject authority is also here. So this is another way to get to the index to explore the index here. It takes you directly to this tab, okay? So going back to recent activity, you'll see we've got these in reverse chronological order. Now I've got 7 sets here, but if you recall, I only use 3. So what I'm going to do is tidy this up a little bit. So I'm going to go through this and just delete previous search that I've run here. In fact, this is actually just to illustrate this. This is the first search I ran on the natural language search. So notice this is the natural language search. It's recorded it. You have the time, you have the number of results. The second set is the same search with full text applied to it, etc. And then the third set there, it has peer reviewed. And then they have past 5 years is the filter. Okay, so the first 4 sets there that are shown relate to my natural language search, which I'm now going to remove because it's going to be cluttering the screen. So you can delete each of these lines. There is an option coming to bulk delete the search history coming very soon. So that will be released where you won't have to go through what I'm doing now to delete each line. And I know some of you have not migrated to this interface yet. So by the time you do, that will be functioning as it should. So at the moment, you have to go line by line. Now, as you can see here, it's in reverse chronological order. So we concluded with eating disorder, etc. Before that, we had social media, and then with young people. So I'm going to resort this in a logical sequence. So where it says newest, click the drop down to oldest, and you'll see the sequence we started off with. Okay. Now, another thing before we combine, if you select these 3 sets, you can do that here, and you've got the option to combine with and, or combine with or. Of course, and is what we're going to be using. So we want results which relate to young people who use social media, and who maybe the consequence of this will be some kind of eating disorder, etc. So all 3 elements must be in our results. Now, depending on how you have this set up, if you've been using this, you may see sometimes search strings recorded in the top search box. This is because the clear find field after searching option has not been enabled. So basically, by default, you can clear the search string from the search box, which means when you do select these sets and combine, you only see the combined query here. If you still have the search strategy for the previous search here, then when you select combine with and, it will just append the search to the previous search, which makes a real mess of it. So if you do have that feature, you can use the cross there to clear, and then you can combine with and here. Okay, so once we've done that, we can run the search and bring back results specific to this PEO search. And also this will reduce the number considerably. We've got over 222 references now in relation to these, these 3 elements. So you can see the first one, you can see social networks, eating, adolescents there, social media use, eating in young adolescents, etc. So you see the terms are highlighted, etc. Eating disorders is mentioned. And of course, you see also various elements of the abstract, and also where appropriate, the subject terms are also highlighted. So the APA Thesaurus terms. Okay. In terms of the way the results are organized, we've got the most relevant indicated. We're viewing that the maximum currently is 50. Okay, you can sort the most recent or the oldest if you prefer as well. You can see records are annotated. We know these are peer-reviewed journals, etc. And majority of references in PsycInfo are actually peer-reviewed content in any case. So we've got the results here. You'll see you got also you can jump to the actual detailed record by clicking through to the actual article title. You can see where it's published. Obviously, we're using APA PsycInfo. You can view the additional authors here, and you can link to other content authored by these individuals. You can see content details there, the journal itself, etc., the abstract, and so on. And you see the APA terms, etc., otherwise listed there. You see the classification code for PsycInfo there. So this is part of the filter and the format, etc. And also you can link to the article through the DOI here as well. Now, I won't spend too much time on this at the moment. We'll come back to this in a moment. But if I go back to the result list, what you would have noted is that the abstract is displayed in an abbreviated form. So you may see the first 1 or 2 lines where abstracts are available. If you want to see the complete abstract, then just click Show More, and you see the entire abstract there, or you can go to the detailed record to view the abstract within that area, as it were. Likewise, with the subject headings, sometimes there are multiple subject headings, so to avoid cluttering the screen, so we have the brief format showing for each of the records within the result list. You can click on the Show More option, and it will give you the additional subject headings where appropriate as well. So part of the design of this, the EBSCO interface has been redesigned to reduce the cognitive load for users, supporting screen reader navigation, etc. So there's less clutter on the screen, a lot of white space, as it were, but you can expand fields to see them in their entirety. Likewise, from this menu, you can click the 5 more to view the additional authors that are included here as well. Okay. If you prefer, or if your users prefer to see the abstract in its entirety, apart from going through each of these references and clicking Show More, there is a setting in the EBSCO Experience Manager tool which allows you to do that. So by default, you see the brief record with the basic, the first 2 lines of the abstract. If you want the entire abstract displayed by default, that is something which can be configured by administrators in EBSCO Experience Manager. So if you have the responsibility for that, and you can do that, that's fine. If you have a national subscription, for example, or regional one, then you may not have control of that. You need to consult those that do. Okay, so we have the results here. Now we may want to apply some other filters to this as well. We saw the initial filters across the top of the screen. If you click all filters below the search box, this expands the column on the right to pull up, and you'll see other filters here, etc. And you've got like publication date, and that includes custom range as well. Now this will be enhanced soon because this will appear also as a quick link on the results page, and also you'll be able to filter just by years. So at the moment you put day, month, year. You'll be able to put years, for example, like 2020 to 2025, for example. Databases, so this is APA PsycInfo, obviously. Source types we've looked at. Subject major heading, again, this is the actual APA terms. And for each of these filters, you'll notice you can sort them. You can search within them, and you can sort them. So you can sort them alphabetically. So you can see adolescent behavior, characteristics, etc. They are sorted by or reverse, and then you can sort them by hit count. So hit count is the default sort for these options. So subject here, again, the general subject headings, as it were, not the major ones. Publication, if you're looking for article, these references within a particular article or a journal, such as the International Journal of Eating Disorders, there are 15 items that are available throughout the journal, and you can select from here, and you can select more than one and view more as well. Publisher, again, you can see publisher there. That may be more useful for yourselves as librarians, library services, as opposed to end users. Language, again, so I can go for English here. Age, so if you're looking for a particular age group, we are looking at adolescents, of course, specifically. Of course, we've got young adulthood. We could expand it if appropriate, or school age, but we go for adolescents here. And then gender also is featured here. Then you have the classification codes, terms from APA, and then methodology. So you could be looking for a specific, a quantitative study, for example, a quantitative study. You can select from this list. Tests and measures are also included there as well. And then population groups. So again, you have others here as well. So once we selected those, we can apply them. So let me just do that now. So let me just start again here. I'm just going to close some of these down. Okay. So let's see where we are with this. Actually, because I didn't use this one. Yeah. That's why apply was grayed out, because I selected custom range, but I had not specified the custom range. So I'm going to click apply now for the search, and that will also reduce the number of results that we retrieve. So 129 now. Okay. Now, obviously, at this stage, you may want to refine this search. You may want to edit it, etc. at some point. So you can go into recent activity, by the way, and you can make changes here. So, for example, if I go to this set S5, and I'll resort again. So you can see the sequence here. So I can go into, and you can see the application or various elements here. If I go into this, go to search details, you can see I can copy the search here now. I've got the search displayed here. So that can be copied to the clipboard and rerun if necessary. I can change the title here. It defaults to the search query itself. But notice you need to sign in if you want to save the reference, the search itself. We'll do that in a moment. So I'm going to come out of that. Let's see now. If I go to, in fact, let me go to a single set here. So before I've combined it, if I'd spotted an error or wanted to make changes to this, I could go in here, search details, and I can edit the search here. So if I want to add another term here, for example, that I found here. So for example, if I want to add nausea, okay, I can now update the search, click continue, and then I can cancel that, and it will rerun, it will update the search to reflect that term. Okay, so now I've got this term added, nausea. So I've just updated this set number from this menu. So you can go into any of these elements here when you have the single terms, essentially like terms, and you can edit those. Now, if you wanted to, if we go back to the search itself and want to save that search before we go any further with the results, then we could do so. So in recent activity, it's tracking what we're doing at the moment. That will disappear once we come out of the session. So we would need to be signed in to save the search or the recent activity beyond this session. So to do that, go to My EBSCO and you sign in here. If you do not have an account, you can create one here. Some institutions have EBSCO single sign-on, for example, work with Open Athens, and it automatically creates the account for you. We support Google sign in here. Otherwise, you can add your name. Last name is not required. Email address. You create the password. Note the criteria, of course, that you should adhere to. And then you agree to the consent form and you create the account and you can use it from that point forward. And that, of course, can be used for Medline, sitting on other healthcare databases or others like Business Source, Academic Search, etc. And click sign in here. Once you've created the account, you can add your username there and I'll sign in. Hopefully I'm still signed into my VPN. Okay. So now I'm signed in. I can save the search itself. So you click Save Search here. And then again, you'll see the query, the combined query is detailed here. So I can copy that and paste that into a document, or I can paste it into another APA database, for example, because it does use the same thesaurus. Obviously, it wouldn't work with Medline or CINAHL because you have different indexing. You need to edit that for that purpose. But we've got the search name, so I can change this to something more logical. So run the search strategy itself. I can put it in, so young people and social media and eating disorders. Okay. So it could be an evidence search. You're doing something for a psychologist, psychiatrist, etc., and you want to save this as you're working your way through this. You may want to share it later. You can add who it's for in description, for example, and then you can just save. So when you save a search here, it does tell us that it's with the save page within my dashboard. So if I click close here, that again is on the left-hand column. So you'll see saved here. If I click saved, I've got my records from previous searches still saved there. If I go to searches, you can see all the searches I've saved currently that are listed. So these are searches I've been running for some time now. And you'll see young people and social and eating disorder. This is the current one. Okay, so it's now saved beyond the session, so I can come back to that at a later time if I need to. Okay, I can still go in and make changes to this. I can change the name if you like. I can copy this to the clipboard, etc. Now, another step is if you are, rather than keep a long list of different searches, and you can sort them by newest and oldest at the moment, but you may want to differentiate this between other searches, and it might be a particular project or assignment, etc. you're supporting. So what you can do is create a custom folder for this. So what you can do here at this stage, once you're signed into My EBSCO, go to the tools menu, the three dots there, and add to project. So a project is a custom folder. So by default, saved is where you store anything you save from the result list, where it's a search or results, they'll be saved automatically to the save folder. If you want to differentiate that from other searches and create a custom folder, you can create a project for this. So you can see I've got previous ones created here. I create a new project here. I can give it a name. So young people and social media, etc. If it's an assignment, or if it's a search that I'm performing for a healthcare professional, a psychologist, for example, and I need to get them this information, need to complete the search by deadline, I can specify the deadline here. So for example, say 1st of December. I can add a description, maybe who it's for, if it's a particular department, and I can create that project. Then you get confirmation on screen on the top right that the project's been created and this has been added to the project. So to see that, go to the dashboard on the left and you'll see projects here. So I've got several projects here. This one, okay, if I click on it now, you see the project title, and you would see records and the search. So the search is now saved to the project. Okay, so I can still go in, I can make changes to that. I can also delete that, by the way, as well. So if I no longer require that, I can delete it from here. Okay, so you've got records if you save any. So if we go back to the search, but let's go back to recent activity and I'll rerun this search. So say, for example, now I may want to save some references. So I can go in, I can just select the save icon next to each record. Or if I want to save a list of records, I can just go in, select the drop down there, and I can save all on this page. Now I can download these. If I don't want to save them, but I want to download this, I can download this list here. And I have this option by default PDF, but I can choose Word if I wanted to, or BibTeX, etc. So this is the metadata only. These are the bibliographic references. So if I go for Word, for example, and download, and I just save this folder. Again, if anyone's got any comments or questions about any of these features, please feel free to share them. I'll just save here for now. And then, okay, just preparing the file. Okay, and just seeing why it's not showing up actually. Maybe it's because yeah, it's here actually. So I'll bring this up. I just drag this across and you'll see this in a moment. Okay, so I just drag this across. This is the Word document of those saved records. So it gives you the contents listing there, and then it's 50 records, and you'll see the actual records displayed with the metadata listed. So this is now a Word document with the links are available where appropriate as well. Okay, and of course you can save and edit that document accordingly. So you have those options. Also, you can add these records to a project immediately. So if I was to save these records, then they can be saved to my default save folder, but I may want to save it to a project because these are associated with the search that I'm running on behalf of a user or a colleague, etc. So I can go to add to project, and I can choose the project now and click add now. So if I go to my projects folder and go to this particular one, so young people and social, I should put media there. So I can edit this, by the way. I can edit that project. I forgot to add media, so I can correct this, save this, just that correction now. If I go into the project, you'll see I've got those 50 records stored here as well. Okay, so I can view them later. So this we save beyond the session. It's differentiated from the save searches. And again, projects are listed here. So these could be 3 particular projects, evidence searches that I'm working on. Okay, and I can obviously change it to the oldest, etc., the most recent if necessary. And I believe we've got another question or comment coming through here. So I'm just going to check. Or maybe not. I didn't see that. Of course, if you want to ask a question online, then you could just use the raised hand icon and I can unmute you if necessary. Now I'm conscious of the time here, so I want to move on quickly. So again, that's the projects. If you've not yet migrated and you're in the process or will be migrating in due course, so if you're using the classic EBSCOhost and you're going to be using APA PsycInfo on the new interface, there is this option to get a report to download records or view a spreadsheet of your folders and subfolders from Classic. So when you click Get Report, it will switch to download, and you could download a spreadsheet which will detail, again, I'm not sure why this is not working at this stage, but basically that will give you a spreadsheet detailing the folders and the content you've stored previously. Okay, that will be available to the end of this year, which is when the official date for migration will be completed. Okay, so again, that option is there. Also within this page, you can create a project up front. So if I click the plus sign here, I could have just created that folder or that project immediately, and then I can start saving searches and references into my project. So there are a couple of ways to set up a project. Again, differentiated from the standard default folder, which is saved, with saved records there as well. If we go back to the search though, I'm going to go back in this level just so I can go to it quickly. And another thing, of course, you may want to do, you may not have time to go through these. You may just want to provide a list of exported results for EndNote, RefWorks, Zotero, and so on. So you have the option again above the result list to select the box there, and you can choose the export option. You can export up to 25,000 records here. You can add the email address or addresses here, and you can choose the preferred format. We support BibTeX as well, but also RAS or RIS format. It's very popular. And then you can send that file. So basically what it means is a link to download metadata for your results will arrive in your inbox. So that will be available for up to 7 days. So you can click on that within 7 days and retrieve those records. So I've got 131 references, but it could be up to 25,000. So then you can import that into your preferred software. We also have the option to share as well here. You can save this to OneDrive or Google Drive if preferred. And then you have the option to email references as well. So you can again enter the user email addresses and send it to the inbox. Okay, so that option. There's a site tool as well. So this is now something you can configure yourselves in the admin tools. So I've got APA 7th edition selected here, as you might expect, but you can switch to others like Chicago, Harvard, etc. And you can specify what should be the default style for your users. You can also copy this to the clipboard as well, by the way. And then as well as copying the citation, you can export the citation again in RIS formats, RefWorks, EndNote, etc. Okay, so that's from the result list specifically. You can also do the same if you go into a record. You can also use the tools across the top as well, include the download option. And in this case, you can download the PDF or online full text as well, or metadata in Word format if preferred. Okay, if we go back to the search, we just go to projects here, and we look at the search briefly. You can also download the search as well. So if you go into this one, sorry, not there. I do mean to go there actually. Let's go to save for now. Go to searches. Let me see here, but not this one either. Sorry, I need to go to recent activity, I think. Okay, so recent activity is currently your search history. So it means you can download this search strategy. So if you click the box here, you can download, sorry, not here. Let's see. Yeah. You can download these sets up to 500. So we've got 10 sets here. So you can download all of those into a Word file, although we generally recommend rich text format because it does collate them more in a condensed format. So if I click download here, now I'm going to do it in reverse chronological order. So you'll see them. If I just open this up and I'll drag this across. Okay, so you see it now. So this is rich text format. This is the search. So this is S10. So I've got it in reverse chronological order. You can resort and have it in sequence, but basically it just collates the search, the sets, etc., and includes the terms, when this was run, etc., the database it's on, and so on. So again, that can be edited, but you most likely will go in here and resort to the oldest. So you see the sequence and then download the search from here. So you can download the set numbers, the content here. Okay. Okay, so I'm conscious we're past the hour mark at this stage. So I just wanted to make sure if there's anything else I needed to cover before we go on any further. I just have a comment here from Khalees. I have a question regarding exploding DE, descriptive mental disorders. Would you have a moment to take it after? Okay, sure. Okay, we can take that offline if you like. Okay, so you've got alerts here too, by the way, so you can be alerted to searches. So if you want to be updated to content, what's happening, you know, what the latest information is, if you go to, again, a search, and you'll see here within this one, and on the results list page, you'll have the option to create a search alert. So again, you could be alerted, you could change the alert name, the description, you can change the frequency from daily alerts to weekly or monthly. So you'll be notified of new content as it arrives, in a sense, as it's available through APA PsycInfo. And that will alert you to, in fact, let me just add this quickly. I'll put young people and social media. Okay, and eating disorders. Okay, so you can be alerted to this. Okay. And then you'd create the alert, go to close, and then you'll see under my dashboard the alerts feature, and that is search alerts, so it'll be stored here. Okay, so you'll be alerted to new content related to this search strategy that you have already created. And again, you can use the tools menu to edit that, view the results, or delete it. Okay, sorry, I know some of you have to leave quite quickly. That's fine. We are over time. Just to clarify also, so that's the alerts there. New search will take you back to the original search screen. The help menu at the moment defaults to the quick start guide for the interface, as it's quite new for many of you. This will take you to the FAQs page. There's a tutorial there as well, and also comprehensive information on searching, browsing, using a dashboard, using tools, etc. So there's a lot more information available. We have the database help files as well. So if you click on that, that will give you the alphabetical listing of databases. You can explore these in your own time. So APA PsycInfo, that will take you to the file which will detail the various fields and also what constitutes an unqualified field search as well. Okay, so I have time to show that. Again, Subject Authority takes you back to the tab to explore the APA Thesaurus. So what I'm going to do now is jump back to my PowerPoint as we begin to wrap up here, because I know we're out of time. So we run the search here. Again, we've looked at the citation style. Again, that's just in the PowerPoint for reference. And also to point out to you, so again, you can choose the reference style, either switch to one that's preferred, or you can set that up as a default option if you have that authority to do so. And in terms of support and training, there is a platform roadmap which details changes that are upcoming. So there are new features being released for the new EBSCOhost coming within the next month or so. So you can view that in your own time. So that's updated quarterly, but more frequently, often than not. So again, the research platforms includes EBSCOhost, and we have EBSCO Connect, our main support portal. And if you register for an account for that, that will give you access to the case management system where you can report cases, queries, etc. as well. So again, there's more information within EBSCO Connect for that. I have included some key documentation in relation to APA PsycInfo, as well as the general EBSCO's interface that you'll have access to post-session with the PowerPoint, and also recommend visiting the apa.org website for more information there. And no doubt that content will be updated as well. You can contact me directly at rcrooks@ebsco.com. But thank you for attending.